Good evening. Welcome to tonight's council meeting. I'd like to call the meeting to order. We are having some problems with our Facebook Live, so if you watch this later, we've recorded it and posted it to the city's web or Facebook page. Before I start tonight, I would like to add, how about them Chiefs? So with that, I'll ask for any agenda changes.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to, I don't know if Ethan's got one, I did speak with him earlier today, but I'd like to add a number 6 to talk about potential snow removal in our community for next year.
That's a good idea.
Jim, Charlie, good with that?
Yeah.
Make it so, then we'll add that as item number 6 under new business. Anything else? Well, then I would, I'm gonna open up for public forum if anybody's here to address the council. Looking out in the gallery and seeing the paper and the police chief, I'm gonna go ahead and close the public forum because nobody else is here. And ask for the approval of the consent agenda.
Mr. Mayor, after reviewing the consent agenda, I'd make a motion to approve it as submitted.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those same sign. The consent agenda stands as approved. We will now open up for a public hearing regarding review of active tax abatements. I believe you all received a cover letter, and we only have one active tax abatement, and that's currently with Martin Machine and Welding. Is there anything you'd like to add, Ethan?
No, just the agenda memo, we did get an updated letter, which are, pages 1 and 2 of what you had passed out, with some updated payroll. So just did wanna mention, they caught a clerical error that had over-reported, the 2024 payroll. From what, like in the agenda memo, when I said there had been an increase, from 24 to 23, as you can see, actually was a slight decrease, but they are anticipating both a growth in employment and wages for 2025. And then you have the letter there from Mr. Martin as well. And then just again, for those not familiar, that didn't have a chance to review that agenda memo, Martin Machine is one of our top 5 taxpayers in the city, even with the tax abatements. So the tax abatement only abated their most recent capital, well, I shouldn't say their most recent, the one they applied for, which was the expansion of the powder coat line there at the North Street facility. So that is what has been abated, and it is in its final year of that initial 10-year abatement that was granted by the city council back in 2015.
So this is the last
Yeah.
vote.
And then, yep, all that equipment or property that would have been abated will fully come onto the tax rolls in a subsequent year. And if they were to apply for any new tax abatements going forward, it would be related to an expansion or acquisition of major capital equipment. So,
Which he did a pretty significant expansion on the south end of LMI and never applied for tax abatement for that, did he?
we had approval, but I think timing wise that just kind of fell at a interesting time for them as a company.
Yeah.
So.
Well, Mr. Mayor, if there's no discussion or question, I'd make a motion to approve the continuation of tax abatements as established by ordinance number 1258 for Martin Machine and Welding.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to continue the tax abatement for Martin Machine and Welding. All in favor, say aye.
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 Those same sign. That passes. We have no unfinished business tonight, so we'll move on to new business. And it looks like we have a lot of housekeeping items on here tonight. And the first one is an asset forfeiture fund annual report. Is Josh delivering that, or you
I
delivering
think
that?
you can, it's, yeah, housekeeping, but it's essentially just something required by state statute, and I believe the report reflects that we did not have any activity.
Yeah, I could say through the year, we did not add anything, we did not spend anything, and it stays exactly how it was before. So no change in any of the funds or activity, so.
Sounds like a familiar pattern from a previous meeting I was in.
Very easy report.
Thanks,
With
Josh.
that, Mr. Mayor, make a motion to approve the, the very short report for the 2024 Halstead Asset Forfeiture Annual Report as presented.
We have a motion and a second to accept the Asset Forfeiture Fund Annual Report. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Next up is the Opioid Mitigation Fund Annual Report. I think we'll have to rely on Ethan, as I don't see Director Lowe in here.
This is from the Municipals Fight Addiction Fund activity. As you know, we opted into that settlement as the state receives settlement money from opioid distributors for their role in the opioid epidemic, excuse me, I can't talk. We received $6,303.64 in 2024, and we had no related expenditures. Those expenditures have to be linked to care, harm reduction, provider health, public safety, and first responders. As this was a newer fund, we kind of relied on waiting to see what we'd end up with before we kind of put a plan together, but now we're.
Is that our balance right now?
No, it has a higher balance than that.
Is it a use it or lose it?
No, we do have to budget for it every year, and that was a change that got clarified by the state of, it's treated as a budgeted fund, so you guys will start to see that as part of the budget process. So we have to plan to spend it, but then it's very much like asset forfeiture in the terms of it's very specific on what it can be spent on. So we cannot just spend it on anything.
7587. End of the year, correct?
Yeah,
Is the dollar amount based on the size of the community?
yeah, there were several factors, but population is a large driver.
Okay.
I'll motion to approve the 2024 opioid mitigation fund annual report as presented.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve the Opioid Mitigation Fund Annual Report. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those same sign, that one carries. Next on the list is the Halstead Land Bank Annual Report, and that was the meeting I was referring to earlier.
You have the hot off the press recently approved land bank annual report, showing there was no change in the balance of the land bank, and the land bank currently is not in possession or own any properties within the city limits. So we started the year with $25,062, and we ended the year with $25,062. And you all, as the city council, just need to accept that report from the land bank.
I'll motion to approve the 2024 Halstead Land Bank annual report.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve the Halstead Land Bank Annual Report. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those same sign, that report's accepted.
Any way to invest any of that, Ethan?
Good thought.
Yeah, we definitely could look at a longer term within our investment policy. We've
Money
more
market.
kept it.
Money market or something, I mean,
Instead of it just sitting there.
that's 3.9% for most market.
Yeah.
Well, whatever, so just curious.
Well, check that out and let us know. The next item is an employee market wage adjustment. I'll let Ethan give the detail on that, but we usually visit this every year.
Yeah. Let's say normally we visit this in December, just with kind of all the changes, the fact they're actually, interest rate adjustments for the first time in a long time at the Fed level. So we wanted to wait until we got December to December, allowing, for seasonal adjustment as well. For the Midwest, the Census Bureau of Labor Statistics had us basically at 3%, and nationally at 2.9. I'm sure some of you probably saw that covered in larger media outlets when that was announced, right there around kind of after our last meeting. Halstead, has had this in effect to review these market wage adjustments for 25 years. It started in 1999. Overall, when we did the 2025 budget, we did budget for 5%, which would be a pool available for both the market wage adjustment and then also applied to potentially merit increases for those employees that qualify for that as part of their annual review. process. So we are recommending a 3% in line with where that CPI number ended up for December. And then making that effective with the pay period beginning January 11th of 2025, which would put it on the upcoming payroll for city employees.
You guys good with all that? 3%?
Yeah. Mr. Mayor, I'd make a motion to approve a 3% increase to base wages for all full-time city employees who are not on a probationary status, effective with pay period beginning January 11th, 2025.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve a 3% employee market wage adjustment. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign. That carries. Next item is we need to set a city council work session date. What do you got in mind, Ethan? What's on the agenda?
Already, even though we're early in 2025, it's talking about 2026 budget priorities and kind of how we start to build the framework there based on if there's any updates from what you previously. We did have, and depending, not sure where the discussion will go this evening, but snow removal was also slated on there, as I know that was brought up. And then we can obviously add any other items that you all would like to add as far as time frame. We typically have our first one of the year either in late February or early March, so we left that kind of open for what would work in people's schedules. I'd say like the week of February 24th, week of March 3rd, or week of March 10th.
How about we do the week of March 10th? That's probably best for me. Is that good for anybody? It's far enough out.
Works for me.
What day are you thinking? I have classes that I teach on Tuesday and Thursdays,
Oh,
so
what days do you have?
Tuesdays and Thursdays, so Wednesday would be the best for me. if at all
Wednesday's good for
possible.
me. I can do Wednesday. Yeah, Wednesday at 6 or 7? 6?
We've done them at 6, I guess, in the past. If you want to keep with kind of the
3.
what you guys have normally done, but we can do it at 7 too.
So that'd be on 3/12. 3/12 at 6 o'clock. Mr. Mayor, I'd make a motion to set a scheduled work session for March 3rd, March 12th at 6 o'clock.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to set a city council work session for March 12th, 2025 at 6 PM. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign. That work session is set. We move on to the added item under new business, and that's the discussion of snow removal. Who would like to open this discussion?
I'll start with that because I received, there are several sectors of the community that apparently selected a spokesman for them. So I heard from several people from around the community and about, the big deal about this snow, we had ice that went down first and then the snow on top of it, and it just didn't want to go away. So a lot of people were calling and contacting about snow removal. And I know we do the main thoroughfares and such, and it's just so difficult, I would imagine, with the size of our crew. And we were down a couple of city staff also. So
And equipment.
So I'm wondering, would it be beneficial maybe to consider, and I'm just throwing this out, to consider contracting with the independent and work something into the budget? And every year, we don't get a snow where we need snow removal. Sometimes it comes down and it's gone in a day and a half.
This was pretty rare.
Yeah.
And then it froze again.
And so,
But that's a huge liability too. I mean, weaving in and out of all those vehicles, and
Yeah.
then the people that are complaining about the snow are gonna be complaining about, we did something to
Blocking
their
their
vehicle.
driveway.
exactly. So,
I think it's a,
maybe we consider adopting a budget. And if we don't use it, we just move it over to the next year and maybe add 3% because the next year costs to do it are gonna go up every year. So maybe if we don't use it, we just move it to the next budget year. But I'm just throwing this out there. Citizens were calling a lot.
We don't,
But
we-
you're looking at equipment,
Mm-hmm.
places to store it, salt, sand, whatever you're gonna use, and places to store it. How much you're gonna need? Do you wanna stockpile that for how long before it's being used? Do you think you can sell it to somebody else? And, there are people in the business that do that. A lot of, in a greater metropolitan areas, the people who do landscaping and lawns also do snow removal. You're right. The liability for vehicles on the side of the street would be significant if some of those gets clipped. I'm not saying it doesn't need to be done, because mine's as bad as anybody's. Pat could vouch for that because he lives right next to me, and we have to go through the same dips every morning and every evening, whatever.
Well, I don't
But
think-
that's it, the magnitude of the issue is bigger than I think what most people think it is.
Right. And I'm not saying we have to come up with a solution tonight, maybe, but I want to get it on the radar so that we can keep it moving.
I don't remember something like this since I was a kid, though. I mean, that is this bad. the
well,
road's this bad.
it's definitely an
very rare.
unprecedented event.
Yeah.
Well, it can be very time consuming also. If we have the road graded, well, then each driveway gets backed up, it gets dammed up, and then we need another skid loader to come back and clear every driveway. So it's very laborious to do this. So that's why I'm saying maybe, and if we're down staff, maybe this is where we consider just having funds and hiring an independent.
Where's the snow gonna go, though?
Yeah,
Well, we could truck it to Riverside Park. We were offered kind of in the 11th hour, the ability to stockpile it on Suter's empty lot at the north end of Main Street. And probably as long as Craig owns that would still be an
I
open
mean,
option.
from all these little side streets and the,
lot of snow.
I mean, blocking driveways and
The snow on the streets itself,
logically, it just seems crazy to me.
it is. And what I did for my personal, because you guys know I got two big driveways, I pile all the snow up on the median between the street and the sidewalk. That's where all my snow goes. But I'm fortunate enough to have a tractor where I can take care of all that myself. I guess we could require everybody in Halstead to buy their own tractor.
Snowmobiles.
Yeah.
well, like I said, I don't know that we need to come up with a solution tonight, but I'd like to get it on the radar so that
Yeah.
I would,
we can be ready if we need it next year.
I would say that, sorry, that I work for a city and we did a lot of the streets in that town, but we always got the same things. We always had to watch the vehicles and our city was smaller, and there's only two of us. But, we did most of the streets, but the main thing that I think we could probably do is at least tackle the main ones and get them cleared. And yeah, you gotta do it at night sometimes, or at different parts when there's no vehicles on there. And at least get it away from, the downtown so it's functionable. For a little while, it wasn't functionable, and I understand the event. And, even when we used to clear the whole city that I work with, we only did it twice in 5 years,
Yeah, but how much is it gonna cost to contract that out?
Well, I don't
Well,
know.
I don't know, we get
Because
some.
we don't have the
we give it a-
manpower to do it
Yeah.
ourselves.
Yeah.
Yeah, and farmers aren't likely to want to do anything like that either nowadays, although when I was a kid, they did. I know, to address some of George's issue, I have some friends that live in Naperville, Illinois, and that's west of Chicago area. If it snows, you can't leave your vehicles on the street, period. If they're there, they're gonna be towed. Now, that might seem like a muscle issue, but that's one way to resolve the issue, or that issue to the vehicles. And it works for them. I guess you get your car towed enough, it would work for you too.
I'm sure they do that up north quite a bit.
We'll probably never see another event like this for the next 10, 15 years.
Want to bet?
Well, now that I said it, we
Next
probably
week.
will.
February's
But,
not here yet, Dennis.
I don't mind the idea of maybe setting a budget item for a reserve account for the potential of maybe having to contract. I think there's probably people right here in town we could have contracted, with Becker's and other people that might be interested in helping with some of that.
If nothing else, move the piles, maybe
Well,
they
and-
can come
and
get the piles out of
Pat,
the corners and stuff
I
like
got a
that.
question for you. We had two of those big dump trucks and obviously we pretty much wore them out and we're down to one. Was there any potential of replacing that second one?
Yeah, we're looking for one.
I thought we were. I just wanted to make sure. And
We had two single axle trucks. We bought a tandem axle the last time, and then our other single axle finally gave up, so we're looking for a replacement. Whether it's a single or tandem, I'm not sure yet. It's just whatever we can find it is reasonable.
hopefully we can find a tandem. Because I know we were preparing for the ice portion of this storm and maintenance had the sand spreader and the one big dump truck that we have. So we couldn't really readily move that snow away because we just didn't have the truck to do it.
So I would imagine, like, as Josh was saying, what's it gonna cost? Maybe we get in touch with the Beckers or maybe another, couple contractors, say, hey, can you give us a ballpark of what this, that way at least we have an idea what to budget for a line item.
Well, and in this particular instance, our city workers could have been running our loader, our snow plows and stuff, and then making the piles, and Becker could have been out there with their loader and their trucks loading those piles to haul them out. I mean,
But in this particular instance, we were down people, weren't we?
yeah. We
I still, even if we have all the people and all the money, I still think it's a huge liability to do all the little side streets, and it just seems
I
like a
don't think we
nightmare to
should
me.
mess with them, just because, yeah, everybody'd like to have their streets cleared, but that's just not gonna happen
No,
responsibly.
I agree with that portion of it.
There's just too many vehicles on the road, blocking driveways, and I think
Sidewalks aren't cleared yet either.
we're setting ourselves up for, it just take one calamity to really mess
No.
Well, it's all something to talk about.
Something to talk about.
This is all something to
Yeah.
talk about.
I think-
Sean probably needs a.
And I don't think we're resolved right now, but.
Let's add this as another item for that work session.
Yeah.
We
so-
can continue to talk then.
Let's make sure we get Brad's input also.
Yeah.
Why? We don't need that input.
Why?
Well, thank you, everybody, on that.
I think
So,
that goes
thank you.
without saying.
Okay.
Okay, that concludes our section for new business. We do have one executive session scheduled this evening, and I would entertain that motion just as soon as Ethan gets it drafted out for Jim.
Mr. Mayor, I move that the Halstead City Council recess into executive session to discuss pending contract negotiation, consultation with the attorney on matters that would deem privilege in attorney-client relationship, exemption KSA 754319B2, to include the city manager, the city attorney, and reconvene at 7:35.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to enter into executive session. All in favor, say aye.
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 Those same sign. We'll move to the back room, council. We are.
Jeez.
We are back from our executive session. Is there any action to be taken as a result thereof? Hearing nothing from the council, we'll move on, and that takes us to the report section of the agenda, and governing body comments is always first. Tonight, I will start with you, Jim.
Nothing, Mr. Mayor.
Charlie.
It's kind of sad to see the Grumpy's cafeteria closing up for the winter. You know, that's tough. I mean, I like going there. And the only other thing I have is I can't, it's kind of interesting, but it's been since I'm gonna say mid-December. I haven't seen a single golf cart on the street. No one's bringing their kids to school on golf carts. Can you believe that? However, there have been some pulling sleds on the street, so, you know, just be cautious.
George.
No, sir, I have nothing.
Josh.
Moving out of the city limits, so I'm gonna have to resign after this meeting.
I'm sorry to hear that, Josh. I mean,
Yes.
really.
We all are. I had a heads up on this, and, will he need to do anything official other than we need to motion to accept his resignation, correct?
Correct.
And I will tell you, in the short time you've been involved with this council, you've been instrumental with trying to affect positive change in the community. You've always had the community's best interest at heart. I'm gonna miss serving with you. I'm gonna miss razzing you about your Cowboys versus my Chiefs. Yeah, I hope you move on to bigger and better things, and should you ever find yourself a resident of Halstead again, why, I would certainly welcome you back to this board.
Thank you.
Yeah, John, you really did bring a good point of view on many subjects, Josh, so you were very much appreciated.
Thank
I
you.
will never look at Christmas lights the same again.
I'll let that go.
Well, with that, do I want to make the motion now to accept his resignation? Mr. Mayor, I regretfully make a motion to accept the resignation of Mr. Homewood.
Regretfully, a second, yes.
I totally agree. We've got a motion and a second to approve the resignation of Josh Homewood. He's been a fine council member, and regretfully, I have to ask for your vote on this. So, all in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries, and you'll be free to go after I adjourn, so I may just keep the meeting rolling for a while.
All right.
We're gonna move on to the city manager's report.
Thank you. Not a lot to report this evening. The last couple of weeks have, especially the week before last, auditors were on site doing field visit. I just want to give a shout out to Julie and her team. They had originally scheduled to be here all of last week and left about midday Wednesday. So to me, that's a testament to Julie and her staff keeping excellent records, being able to answer questions, find things as needed for the auditors. We're hoping by the end of February to have that able to present for you, talking to them. So been a good year. No snags or anything that we hit in that process. Obviously, other than that, we continue just gearing up for some beginning stuff, planning for capital projects. Now that the weather's nicer, we're gonna start our push again and hopefully maintain at least a somewhat decent temperature to get those final rights of ways approved, get that project out. And Pat and I hopefully will be meeting in the next week with Lochner on the North Street project and where that's at, and then hopefully having both a conversation with Martin Machine and then getting something scheduled like a public input session from the affected property owners there, just to kind of help let them know exactly what the plan is looking like, how, traffic most likely will need to be managed during that time, because that'll be a fairly significant project. Definitely a good improvement. based on the plans. They are also working now with the portion that touches the levee, as well as us moving like the water main over into that railroad right-of-way. Well, it's actually still the city's right-of-way, but next to railroad right-of-way, we've also started the conversations with BNSF, getting their approvals in place so that we can hopefully get this thing set for bid as well this year. So other than that, I don't know that I have anything other than, since it was brought up, golf carts. So if you have golf carts, renew your annual registration, please. Great time to do it when it's cold. So
Ethan, I have a question, maybe Pat can also speak to this. If we're gonna be putting our waters, main, anything else going along that, through there, being so close to the tracks, will vibrations from the tracks create any kind of issue? It's right there, I mean, it's gonna be like 15 feet away. So, I mean,
Well, let me put it this way, we've got a 100-year-old cast iron main that's not having any problems, so, no, I don't think so.
okay. So, I just thought I'd ask, just,
It's a good question.
How big is that line there? 8 inch. Big line.
okay.
That's a main one.
and then the only other thing I will mention is I believe the battery energy storage system developers are planning to schedule a community conversation with some safety consultants that specialize in risk management and battery energy storage. So when the city gets information on the exact date and that's been scheduled, we will push that out for the community, because I know BESS has obviously been a big topic of conversation, continues to be a topic of conversation at our planning and zoning meetings. But this, I think, is intended to, again, be a community conversation where community members actually can come and ask these subject matter experts questions regarding their safety concerns with battery energy storage. So again, we will push that out via the app, Facebook, the marquee, everything we can, so.
Good.
All right, anybody have any questions of Ethan's report?
Excuse me.
Anybody else have anything else they'd like to add? How much longer can I keep Mr. Homewood here?
I'm not in a hurry.
Well, since we're done, I would entertain a motion for adjournment.
I'll move to adjourn.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Same sign. We are adjourned. Thank you, council.